Welcome to Hack Your Happiness.
Sometimes the only way out of your feelings and those hard things is through them. You got to just give them life. You got to say, this is how I'm feeling. And then later, once you kind of calm down, you can look back. You're like, gosh, why was I saying that? And why was I feeling like that?
Are you a teen or adult looking for more happiness in every day and ways to connect with people in your life?
You've come to the right place. Hack Your Happiness is a podcast designed to bring you the behind the scenes of what brings iconic individuals happiness, plus their life hacks.
I'm Mercedes.
And I'm Anastasia.
And we're the two teens behind Small Bits of Happiness.
We're interviewing Olympic athletes, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and more.
Throughout all of our episodes, you'll find great conversations, hacks that you can take away and try in your life, inspiration, as well as unique and surprising insights. Today, we're speaking with Holly Singer. Holly Singer is the founder and CEO of Milk Jar, an inclusive candle company. Milk Jar creates job opportunities for people with and without disabilities. They also support inclusive spaces by donating $1 from every product sold to organizations that support people with disabilities to learn and grow initiatives that create inviting spaces. In 7 years, Milk Jar has raised over $300,000 for programs worldwide, from Alberta to Ontario to the US to the UK. These are all areas where Milk Jar's purchases come from so that they can support their customers' communities to be more inviting. Holly says that her employees give Milk Jar a greater purpose and a positive work culture, and she'll be sharing that with us today. Holly also plans to expand inclusive hiring in Calgary by creating a work experience program at Milk Jar that leads to seasonal supported employees finding permanent employment in other Calgary businesses after their work experience term. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you so much. What a great intro.
Thank you. We're so excited to be speaking with you today. You're so inspiring, and you're currently such a successful entrepreneur. So take us back to the beginning. How did your journey begin?
Yeah, it's amazing to hear that it's been almost 8 years of doing this, and that it's a candle too. I never really thought that this is where I'd be. We have a business of 18 staff members right now. At Christmas time, I think we go up to 30. We have a workshop in the central Northeast where we make all of our candles. We make diffusers and perfume rollers as well. We also teach candle making classes. We run quite a few of them, and they're a lot of fun. So we teach people how to blend their own scents, and then they make a candle and a diffuser. We do a lot of custom candles for businesses. A lot of real estate agents, funny enough, really like custom candles as their closing gifts, which is really cool. We've worked with Jillian Harris, David's Tea, Lululemon to make custom candles for them. And yeah, it's been a really exciting journey, but really how it started was, it wasn't really my intention to do this, to be a candle maker or even an entrepreneur and a business owner for that matter. I remember even in high school telling my mom when I was trying to think of what job or career I'd go down, I was like, I just want to work for someone else. I remember like a lot of people would rather work for themselves, but I remember thinking, I was like, oh, I just want to find a good job, work for someone else, someone tell me what to do. And then I would just go home and enjoy my life, and then just go to work and work be work and my life be my life. But it's really interesting and cool to see that I've created a business where my life is really involved in it, and it's given me so much purpose. I couldn't be happier. But yeah, it has humble beginnings. Started in my home kitchen about 8.5 years ago now, and I really just made candles personally. I love crafting, baking, love making things, and it really was born of me making candles, of wanting to burn something cleaner. So I learned that burning paraffin candles was toxic. There's a lot of carcinogens in paraffin wax. So I thought I could make a cleaner candle because there wasn't many on the local market. Like, it was actually hard to find soy candles. And I really loved wood wicks, and those weren't very common back then too. So I was like, I can learn how to make this. How hard can it be? So I started buying all the ingredients and just making candles in little rocks glasses and jam jars and just burning them in my home. And it was just a nice creative outlet. And I'd make like a batch of 8 candles and give some to friends. And then when I had the idea to start a business, it was kind of at a time when I was changing, I think, kind of career paths. I have a kinesiology degree, and in that degree, I really discovered that working with the disability community was my passion and where I wanted to go. I wanted to be an occupational therapist after my Kines degree, but I applied for a master's and didn't get in. My marks weren't high enough, unfortunately. I was a good student in my undergrad, but I think I went out a little bit too much. And so OT wasn't going to be my thing, but I worked in my field a little bit. I worked at Cause and Effect Foundation. It's an early intervention program with children with disabilities. I swam with a boy with cerebral palsy for 7 years, doing his pool therapy with him and his mom. And I really enjoyed that. And then I kind of realized I wasn't making career money, so I probably had to go back to school. So I applied for nursing at the same time that I started Milk Jar. And when I started turning my little passion project into a business, my only goal was to donate $1 from the sale of every candle and I would donate it back into organizations that help children with disabilities feel connected and grow, like Between Friends, Pace Kids, basically all the kind of organizations and programs that boy that I swam with would go to. And so that was kind of more a reason to feel connected to that community, because I was going to go be a nurse, and I think I wasn't very excited to go into nursing school. So I felt like I needed to kind of have my purpose a little bit. And I also thought I could sell a few candles and purchase some nursing textbooks with it. So it was kind of a little project like that. And then a couple months into my nursing school program, I was at my first Market Collective here in Calgary, and I sold out of 260 candles. So, which at the time I made them on my stove. One pot makes 8 candles at a time. So it took me a very long time to make those. And so it kind of took off. I started getting inquiries for wholesale, and I had no idea what wholesale meant. So I kind of quickly realized I couldn't start a business and do nursing school at the same time, because the nursing school is pretty intense. So I made the very tough decision to stop school and try out this candle biz. And it kind of took off. I had a really great first year. I ended up donating $2,000 to Cats Calgary. So I sold around 2,000 candles that year, and I profited, which was really cool. And then I decided to keep it going, and here we are 8 years later.
That is incredible. I love how Milk Jar is born out of your passion for helping people, as well as, your passion for making things, whether that be baking or making crafts or candles. I think it's so cool how in the end, all your interests have kind of come together, as well as, you took that risk of not going to school for a little bit and pursuing your business. And I know that that's definitely a huge risk and can be scary, but I think it's amazing how you did it and have brought it to where Milk Jar is today and still helping so many people. And that is just, I think, so incredible.
Yeah, it is so inspiring. So throughout this amazing journey, what do you think your biggest challenge was, and how did you overcome it?
I would say myself was my biggest challenge. Really, business, what it shows you, especially when you have staff and you start growing, and it reveals all of your insecurities. Like, having to give feedback, having to motivate people, wanting to do it kindly, but knowing you have goals to set, overcoming like my own fears of, can I do this? Do I know what I'm doing? I would say that is the hardest thing. Obviously finding sales is one thing, and, working really hard or needing to hire people and not overworking yourself. Those are all challenges I've had too. And I've had experiences where there's been years in Milk Jar where I've gone way out of balance and worked way too much, and then tried to find that balance. And you really can't find that balance until you swing both ways. And then you're like, okay, this didn't work, so we need to do this. So, but I would say the hardest thing is it reveals your stuff, what you yourself gotta kind of deal with to keep believing in yourself. It's hard, especially when you're kind of the face of the brand or the only owner in a way. I'm so grateful that I get to do that, and it's never something I thought I'd have the opportunity to do, and be able to share our story of inclusive employment and use candles for a greater purpose. So I feel a big sense of responsibility sometimes, but I'm grateful for it. It's really a privilege that I have. So I really want to use that really well. But you got to overcome your fears and that little voice inside your head telling you can't do it, or um, revealing all these things will come up too that make you reactive or make you kind of freak out about something, and they're just those little mirrors of, hey, you gotta work on this if you want to keep being a really great business, a really great boss, do the right thing and grow the right type of company, especially when we're doing a company that's working a little different than other businesses. We're trying to change the mold of what hiring and is, and not just trying to extract every ounce of like effort and time out of all of your team to get your bottom line where it needs to be. Like you can have your team come in and want to work for your company and do good work and be focused, but you can also be successful at the same time when there is that nice balance. It's all about balance.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's so amazing how, you just need to work with yourself. And I think sometimes we can be our own biggest challenges, like you said, but by trying all the different waves of the pendulum, you kind of find the perfect in between balance. But you need to go to both sides. You need to be trying things out. You need to be flexible and patient with yourself.
And I think that that's what's important is, taking a risk, hiring somebody. I think especially expanding a business can be so stressful. And it's interesting because, like you said, when you're expanding your business, it's stressful and it reveals your insecurities. But at the same time, it's important to remember that the only reason that you're expanding your business is because you've done a great job so far and it's doing well. And I think that's interesting how sometimes it can be hard for us to see our own successes when, we have our insecurities in the back of our heads. But yeah, taking those risks, no matter for teenagers, even if you're not running your own business, but maybe it's, trying out a club or joining a new sport or taking a course that you're not too familiar with, trying out those things shows us more about ourselves. And I think life is just one big learning journey, and that's so important to keep in mind.
You nailed it. It totally is. And it should be fun. Like, it's not going to be a perfect ride, and you got to be uncomfortable and, try hard things. And that's the whole point of why we're here. That's how we level up too.
Yes, exactly. That's how we elevate ourselves and become better as we go on. And I think that a lot of teenagers, we struggle to deal with our emotions during challenging times, regardless of what that challenging time is. Whether that be school related or, work related or even, driving, friendship, all those things. How do you manage to keep yourself grounded during challenging times?
I've been trying to breathe a lot more lately, doing a breathing practice in the morning. And I've never been very good at meditating or doing a breathing practice, but I've always read and heard that it's really important to do. So actually, this last November, because Christmas is always quite wild for us, I started breathing 15 minutes in the morning before going to work and 15 minutes before going to bed. And it's all about the whole point of that is to be present, to bring you back to being present, not living in this worry about the future or worrying about the past, what happened. And it's just, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. What we know is right now, where we are. We're in a video right now. And that's all you need to worry about too. Like I find I was kind of doing the little doom scrolling at night on my phone and, on Instagram just to kind of get away from like sometimes hard feelings. And when things were feeling a little stressful, but it's almost like really embracing. I feel like this year I used to really shy away from feeling bad. I never wanted to feel bad. I didn't want to feel stressed. I wanted to be really strong and be happy all the time. But part of being happy is also accepting that there are times when you have feelings and they're okay. That's like the biggest thing. I feel like that's kind of where our world is coming to. I think even just 2 days ago, I had a huge cry. I was like, it was kind of work related, kind of not kind of me related. And I was just like crying at home. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like, that's even 8 years in. And I knew I was being really hard on myself and I knew I was being hard. So I was talking to my partner and I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. And kind of like being slightly harsh to myself, but I knew, and I was always prefacing it too. I was like, I know I'm doing well and I know I'm doing this, but I feel like this. I feel like I'm not. And it felt very cathartic to just do that. And my partner like held a lot of space for me too, or a friend doing that to you too. So it's like just having that awareness that you're being maybe a little not being like the way you want to be, but you're being authentic. This is how I feel, even though I know it's not true, even though I know other people don't think that. It's like, I don't care. I feel this way. and I'm mad about it or I'm sad about it. And then you calm down. Once you let that out, it goes. Like it literally does go. Like, and then you're like, oh, I can actually feel a lot better. Like a couple hours later, like, oh, I don't think that really. And ooh, I really got like I even thought of like with my partner, I was like, oh, I really got to really like went down that dark path right there with my partner, went down that hole of like saying all these like woe is me and like anxiety kind of spiral and then but I was like, but that was helpful in a way. And I was like, yeah, it just was nice that he also didn't hold me to that. He wasn't like, he's like, I know you were just going through it and you just needed to let it out and be mad or sad or whatever you needed to do. And I was like, yeah, it's like feeding that ego in you when you just want to be a victim sometimes and you just want to be like, I'm not doing the greatest or poor me kind of thing. But you know, it's like it's not a place you want to stay. We all have it in us, and you just sometimes the only way out of your feelings and those hard things is through them. You got to just give them life. You got to say, this is how I'm feeling. And then later, once you kind of calm down, you can look back, you're like, gosh, why was I saying that? And why was I feeling like that? And it's like, it's because it's something I need to work on. I feel inadequate when, someone gets mad at me or something like that. It's all, there's a reason for why we react to anything. And the worst thing, or not the worst thing, but well, no, the worst thing you can do is it's going to keep showing up in really reactive ways if you don't let it out. If you don't give voice to it, if you keep pushing it down and pretending it's not there or pretending you don't have feelings, there is nowhere for it to go but come out even worse later on. So, and the only way you can really notice it more is when you do feel it. And then you do kind of look back and analyze it like, oh, why was I doing that? So that is what I do when haven't always done that though. I'm 34 now and I literally only started learning how to do that a year ago. So I think but what I've realized is the quicker you learn that you can feel your feelings, you don't have to do it publicly. You can just find a safe person, do it with yourself, do it with a therapist, do it with a safe person for it, or just you. And it is a part of the process. You can't feel better without feeling bad first.
That is so relatable, and I think a lot of times we're, as teenagers, and I think everyone, you suppress your feelings because you're like, if I cry or if I tell somebody that I'm feeling stressed or angry or frustrated or annoyed, then it's real and then I'm like in it. But as you said, the only real way through your to get past those feelings is to go through them. And also I think emotions hold a lot of information, and if we think about why am I feeling annoyed or why am I feeling stressed, we can kind of get to the deeper root of it, as well as I think talking about it and feeling those feelings and crying or doing whatever you think is going to help you and whatever feels right. Maybe that means going on a little bit of a rant and talking to someone about how you feel. Sometimes that's just what you got to do, and we shouldn't be harsh on ourselves for just being human and feeling emotions like everyone does.
I think we can definitely also function better once we're not holding something back. And I know especially like when I'm letting some emotions out and then like 20 minutes later I just feel like rejuvenated and new, because you don't feel like you have a whole bunch of things weighing you down. Because sometimes our emotions, especially if we're like bottling them up, it's so much better to identify the issue that's going on and just feel what you're feeling, so then you can move on, like you said.
And you too, man, like the younger generation has it way more figured out than I ever did. I'm learning this at 34. I feel like it's kind of the day and age we're now in. We're all kind of learning this all at the same time. So I'm so excited that younger people get to feel their feelings and not feel scared about them like earlier on, and not feel like they're going to get made fun of, or even if they and learning that, you have using that good judgment. Like, it doesn't mean you have to share it with the whole world or like have this big outburst, but it's like, hey, safe person, find your safe people, feel your feelings, and it's okay. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And coming from an older millennial, I guess, I wish I would be a little bit farther down if I'd learned this long ago. So all in good time. We all learn it at different times. And I'm glad we're all having conversations about it now.
I definitely
Totally.
agree.
I think it's so important to realize that, people who are so successful and people who build businesses and, achieve goals and dreams, they also feel emotions and feelings just like we do as teenagers. And it's totally okay to have someone, and it's good and healthy to have someone that you can go and talk to. And, when you feel like you need to let out your emotions, that you do in a healthy and safe way and with someone that you trust.
Mhm.
So, you are an incredibly successful entrepreneur, and I know you've already talked a lot about your educational path earlier on, but did you do anything specifically to help you, while you were becoming an entrepreneur and starting your business? Did you do anything to help learn more about it? Or also when you were like doing your candles, did you do any research about that?
Any like courses or something you read or watched to learn those skills?
Google is your best friend. I didn't take any courses. I didn't not even business courses really. You can find so much on the internet about things to do to start a business. I don't want people to get too bogged down on thinking they need to research so much. Following your intuition on what feels good, trying out new things, getting creative, because you don't want to get too caught up that you're doing what you want to do is kind of the wrong way. Your experimentation, like you must follow a structure to a T and a recipe to a T. Obviously, there's certain things you can learn, but yeah, it's just trial and error, a lot of trial and error. My first candles were not very good, to be honest. And a lot of the companies that I would buy products from, the manufacturers of these waxes would have tips. I would look up a lot of blogs and I would make candles, how to do anything. That was always the best. And then I just make it and testing, trying it out, seeing what works. And then, yeah, in terms of business ideas, like trying to figure out how to start a business. Same thing, how to start a business in Alberta, all the things I need to do. And there's a lot of information out there. Taking it step by step. Yeah, the internet's can be hard, but it's a wonderful place too for information, and you can learn so much from that too. So yeah, that's where I got it all.
I think being self-sufficient is so important because then you know how to research things when you're stumped on something, you don't know how to figure it out. Just being okay with Googling it and figuring out, maybe watching a YouTube video or reading a couple of articles or blog posts. There's so much information out there, and I think there's more than we think. And as well as, taking your own creative touch to it, and especially on like products or services, adding your own spin to it is what can really make you successful, because it's that unique factor that, draws people in.
Not just like following it step by step. This is how to start a candle business. I think in the end, it's all about, what you do will always be uniquely yours, because
And I think putting your personality and elements of
totally,
yourself
because
in.
everybody's unique, and I think that just celebrating that and by using that will make you stand out, especially among other people around you who, if there's like another candle business, there's a way for you to stand out and be your own.
No, exactly. And yeah, it's you just got to go for it too. Like I want to say too, I'm always learning. I'm still learning about wicks and waxes, honestly still. You don't want to like make sure if someone is interested in starting a business, you want it to be good. You want it to be as good as you can get it and to the best of your ability, but don't wait till it's absolutely perfect to start, because then you'll never start, because there's no such thing as perfect. Things are always changing. Like even with candles, like the temperature outside affects candles too. So there's all sorts of things that I'm constantly learning, even to this day. And I would say it was even like 3 years in, I feel like that's when I really felt like I knew candles, 3 years in. But I still started my business even when I knew quite a bit, but had a lot more to learn too. And because the best feedback to make my business better was from customers purchasing them and giving me feedback. So I really recommend just never waiting till it's absolutely perfect. If you want to do something, just go do it.
I love that, because I think so many times we have that little perfectionist tendency where we don't want to do it. We're worried that it's not good enough, people are going to not like it, or we're going to fail. But, I think that little saying, better done than perfect, is something that I always try to remember, as well as you said, learning by doing, because that's the true best way to learn authentically about your audience, as well as, even if a teenager who's listening to this doesn't want to make a business, by learning, by doing, whether that's like a sports skill or even like writing, becoming a better author, all those things, that's by doing is truly such a great way to just learn and grow. So how does entrepreneurship bring you happiness?
The part of entrepreneurship that I love the most of owning a business is having staff. I would say creating those opportunities and job opportunities for people, and just getting to meet and be around a bunch of different people all the time. And yeah, knowing that like I have a bit of a responsibility to make sure the business is successful so they can, earn a paycheck and support themselves. I love being able to give that and offer that. So yeah, the people are always the brightest part of my day, always. Even some of our supportive staff, like Lauren, she wants to retire at Milk Jar. She said that to me, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay, I need Milk Jar to go for a really long time. I need Milk Jar to work. So, but that makes me just so happy when, we just have people that are really happy to be here. It feels like I did something right.
That is amazing.
Totally. I mean, when you can feel other people being so excited and happy about something that you're building and working alongside you, it just gives you so much. I think also validation that what you're building is worthy in somebody else's eyes, as well as they see the value in what you're building as well as in you.
Yes, and I think that, having a supportive network around you of people who align with your goals and your vision, I think is just such a powerful thing. And finding your people is truly such a key to happiness. And as well as, having someone that you're almost, accountable for. You want to make sure that you provide them with a paycheck and provide them with good opportunities. I think also having that purpose, is so important.
Yeah, I mean, building a business, finding the right people can be so difficult sometimes because you're just constantly trying to find the right thing, and I think it can be definitely very difficult sometimes, and you need to be perseverant. So what are your top 3 tips for teens to be a bit more perseverant and learn about it?
The biggest hurdle you have to get past is you. Like that's, like I said, or even earlier, like it's, if you're doing it also too, one thing I wanted to let go of this year was external validation. So even I still do things like I love what I do, and I got myself, and I half the time don't care what people think of me. But there are still certain things that I definitely knew I did because I wanted praise or people to, be proud of me and think I did something. And to persevere through it too, like the times when I was doing it for myself, the hard times are so much easier because you're doing it for you. When you're doing something for, validation, support, love, like from a parent, from a friend, from the public, you want to be just from Instagram. Like when you do it for those reasons, it's hard to push through when it gets tough. When things get tough and really your only person you're trying to impress is yourself, just because you want to see if you can do it, it makes those tough times not so hard, which makes you able to persevere. When things get really hard and it's hard to show up and you're like, oh gosh, like I'm dragging my feet, I'm not getting sales. Oh my gosh, what are people going to think of me? My business is failing. People are going to think I'm a loser. Like I tried this thing and it's not working. But when you're like, oh, my business isn't working. And like, when you're you don't care what anyone else thinks, or like, you hope that they like it. But if they don't, all good. You're doing this for you and to see if it works, and you're not going to make it mean anything about you if it doesn't work. You don't identify with it. This is a baby you're creating, business, learning to play an instrument, going to take this program at school. And, you'll just be able to, show up and get creative and find the ways to get through something when something seems hard. Like you're just not getting something, like, okay, well, it's not that big of a deal because, it feels like safer to keep trying, because we often, I think, just really we don't want to feel embarrassment. We don't want to feel shame. We don't want to feel like we let anyone down. And every single human feels it, and you'll never not feel it. That's one thing I realized, where it's like, oh, I want to not care what people think ever again, and I don't want external validation. I want internal validation. And I never want to worry or feel shameful of thinking what someone might think of me. It's nice to know that we're human beings and we all have egos. It's going to happen. You do train, you can work on though very much, like working through when those feelings come up, that, why, understanding why you're doing something. Like, am I trying to, is this instrument so hard to learn because I'm doing it for those people? I'm not doing it for me. That makes it hard. Am I doing this business because I want to be rich and famous, but I actually don't care about the thing I'm creating? Or am I just doing it because I really just care about that thing I'm creating, whether someone else likes it or not? You'll be able to get through it. So I really feel like a key thing of perseverance is first identifying the thing you're trying to push through. Who are you doing it for? If you answer, like, are you doing it for a bunch of likes on Instagram or a bunch of views on TikTok, but you actually kind of don't really care to learn how to shuffle dance? Like, you actually hate it, but you see a lot of people getting a lot of views or something like that. That's actually something I want to learn. I want to learn to shuffle. So I've been like saving all these like shuffling videos. But like, do you want to do it for you, or are you doing it for them? And then when you just ask yourself that question, like, and don't lie to yourself ever too. Don't say, oh no, I'm totally doing it for me. You're just having a conversation with you. You don't need to tell anyone else this. And just really find out, oh, I am doing it for other people. I actually really don't care to learn this instrument. I don't care about this business. It's hard and it's boring and I don't care. I was just trying to find this thing that was going to be popular. It's like, no, find the thing that you like, and then you'll be able to push through always.
Totally. I mean, I think that if you do something that you love, you can do it well. But if you find something that you don't like, then the chances of you doing that well and being actually super successful and happy at it becomes so much lower, because how are you supposed to be good at something that you don't even like doing? You're not going to be spending your time thinking about it. You're not going to be practicing at it. Like, let's take, doing the dance. If you love dancing, if you love that shuffle dance, you're going to be doing it over and over again. You're going to be thinking about it all the time. How can I make this dance better? How can I perfect it? Is there, something better I can do? And if you don't like it and you're just doing it for the views, you're going to be saying, oh yeah, I'm just going to be practicing it now for like 20 minutes. And then I'm going to, once you can't get it, you're going to give up. And then you're just going to move about your day. Maybe tomorrow you'll try again for like 20 minutes, but you're not constantly thinking about it. You're not constantly improving. You're not taking tips from when you see other people doing the dance. There is no passion and happiness and love in that. And you can't grow and become successful at something that you don't like.
Exactly. And I love how, becoming more perseverant is so much in our control, because we have to take the time and take that energy to ask ourselves, who am I really doing this for? And again, not lying to yourself is so important. I think a lot of times we're worried about what we think, and so we're worried that if we think something and admit it to ourselves, then somehow it makes it truer than it was before. But I think the only thing that it does is it helps you actually identify and overcome a potential challenge. And so I love that, and it's definitely key to perseverance. Totally. It's great advice.
I think being authentic to who you are is the best way to be perseverant and find something that you really, really want to achieve. And that way you can actually get through those tough times.
Yeah, I'm still learning to be authentic. I've always known myself really well, but I definitely have that little bit of that people pleaser in me where I will say yes to everything, which isn't being authentic. I would say yes to everything just because I didn't want someone to be mad at me and I wanted everyone to like me. And it wasn't until I started standing up for, like, no, I don't like doing this stuff, or I don't want to do this stuff, and this, I just gotta, no one's gonna be mad at me. And sometimes people will be mad at you, and it's like, adults can handle disappointment. People can handle being disappointed, but what's harder, you realize as you get older, is disappointing yourself by not being true to what you really want to do and being true to who you really are, and just sticking up for yourself and just trying to please other people over you. It's always a balance. I think it's really good to want to do things for people when you want to, when it's true to yourself. Like, it's not a very nice thing to do something for someone else, or say or do something that you don't really want to do. And then because you don't want to let them down or you want them to not get mad at you, but then you're just full of resentment doing this thing you don't want to do, yet you think you're being nice and it's actually being not nice. It's not nice to you, it's not nice to them, because I'm sure that other person, other people just want you to be real with them. And yeah, that was something I kind of really have been learning the last couple of years of a recovering people pleaser.
It's definitely tough. I heard this quote and it really changed my perspective on it, because I think, as teenagers during high school or middle school, it's so difficult to not care what those around you think and not care what your friends or your peers say. And everyone has an opinion, and everyone always has an opinion. But there was this one quote that I heard, and this is kind of a variation of it to this situation, but it's like, pleasing others and doing things for others can be hard, but doing things for yourself and not having people be happy, maybe having people be a bit disappointed, is hard too. You have to choose your heart. Do you choose the heart of having people be disappointed, or do you choose the heart of having people be happy with you, but then you're not happy? Like, there's always going to be some sort of give and take, and it's all about finding what really energizes you, and the right people will support that and understand it.
Exactly.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, I heard that quote and I was like, I
really
need to remember this.
Really.
It takes time though. It takes you'll hear all these little nuggets that you get about those sort of things. It takes a while to actually get into practice when you're put in the situation. But I heard there's a quote I heard, it's the hardest thing you've ever done is the hardest thing you've ever done. And that's about things that you don't think you can do or seem so uncomfortable. It seems like it's oh my gosh, maybe when you're a kid, not getting an ice cream, you freak out, you're upset, you're it's the worst thing that ever happened to you. And then it happens, and then it's not so bad. And then your level of the worst thing that could ever happen to you now expands, or the hardest thing you've ever done. If, let's say, saying no to someone or standing up for yourself when it's easier just to not, or trying out this business and having everyone know about it and, just giving it a shot. It seems so hard, but then once you do it, you're it's not so bad. It's never really that bad. And then you're okay, I just expanded my ability, of what the hardest thing or the worst thing that ever happened to me was. I can do a lot more, and then you keep pushing it. That's what growth is. That's what getting older is. You keep trying to discover what's the hardest thing I've ever done, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to me, because then that's where anxiety lives too. That's when we kind of worry about the future. That's where we try to stay safe and not get uncomfortable. But the only way to grow is to get uncomfortable, and the only way to see if something works out is to give it a shot. And who cares if it doesn't work out? I remember thinking at the beginning, Milk Jar might not work. I was well, it might not work out. I'm we'll see. But I was what I would hate is to always wonder, what if it did work out and I never tried? And yeah, so I would rather know that something didn't work than wonder if something could have worked.
I absolutely love that. And I think it's so important to always try things and expand and grow. I love how that quote of the hardest thing you've ever done is the hardest thing you've ever done, because we're always going to have more challenges. Oh yes, great job, you've achieved one challenge, but there's another one that's definitely going to happen. That's just life. And so again, that quote comes into play of knowing that you failed is hard, but not knowing if you could have been successful is hard as well. You have to choose your heart, and you have to choose what you want. And I think no matter what, there's gonna be challenges. No matter which route you take, you may as well take the route where your heart is kind of leading towards and that you want to find out. So a lot of teenagers I know want to start a business, but they're stuck. They don't know how to go about it. They don't know how to take that little leap of faith or that little comfort coming out of their comfort zone. So do you have one tip, a big tip, your favorite tip that you could share for starting a business?
Yeah, so let's say you have your business idea, so you know what it is. Obviously, you need to get it out there in front of people. My favorite way to do it at the beginning was obviously starting a little Instagram page. There's free resources. You could start a website. Squarespace is what I did, and it wasn't too expensive if you need a website. But you can also just start a business, have a little portfolio as an Instagram account with nice photos and nice little things that you can share Again, you don't need that. But then you can also sign up for markets. So this was really great in Calgary. How do you sell your stuff? So there's so many really amazing markets. There's Spruce Meadows Christmas Market. There's Market Collective. There's like you could probably Google markets or look on Facebook for like markets that happen in Calgary. There's summer markets. There's spring ones. Some are cheaper. Some are more expensive to book a table. Some are free even too. But then you can start getting having a platform, basically like a little storefront on a weekend for you to sell your item. And that will get you kind of used to talking about your product or what you're doing, if that's what it is. Maybe it's a service that you're providing too. So you kind of need an area where customers can kind of find you, whether it's an Instagram, it's a website, if you want them to find you online. I would say the little things are you need business insurance. That's one. You need to incorporate or, register your business. So that's being a sole proprietor, incorporate, a limited. We incorporated, typically when you're first starting out, I think it's if you make, I can't remember what the dollar amount is, what you make, but if it's a very small business and it is something that can be tied to your name, you can start a business as a sole proprietor. You register it in Alberta. There's checklists for all this stuff online. You can find that just to make it a legit business. You obviously need a good name, something catchy, something that aligns. Don't worry, you can always rebrand in the future if you eventually don't like the name or the look that you created. But it's getting all those things together. It's first having the product or the service, making sure you got that, the look and everything. Finding out places where you can sell it, like at markets, and then having all the legalities that, like, if someone bought this thing from you, like a candle, and they burnt their place down, do you have insurance for that kind of thing? I have business insurance for that. So, yeah, just little things like that to get going. That's it. And then you will learn on the way. I took no business school. I didn't really have a mentor. When you know, you will learn what you need to do next when you need to know it. Sometimes something will come up and you'll be like, oh, I didn't know I needed that. Looks like I need that thing to now sell. Like maybe you go to a market and you are just taking cash and then you realize you could get a Square digital reader to take card in your phone. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to buy that thing for my next market because I'd rather take card and, I could probably get more purchases. So it's just constantly that creativity of like, hey, what do I do next? Like, now, how do I elevate? Do I hire a photographer to take professional photos now? So it's like just to elevate my Instagram and get it and elevate the website. So yeah, those are kind of a couple little tips of how to get started, and then just do it. Just say you're going to sell, put something at your school or put something on your front lawn one day, like how little kids do lemonade stands. I don't know, and just sell some stuff one day and see what happens. Just do whatever you got to do to just get started and make that first purchase.
Definitely. I absolutely love that. And I think that those are all such great starting points, just to get going. Don't be afraid. Just take that leap. It's okay. You can always change things and rebrand in the future. Don't be too scared about that. But I also love what you said about the markets, farmers markets or Christmas markets, all of that fun stuff, because I think that's a great place to learn about who wants to buy your market, your customers, and who's actually interested in your service or your product, as well as, learn about your product as you pitch it to people over and over and over again. And also I think having as you mentioned, a website or an Instagram page for people to follow so then you can actually retain those people who are purchasing from you is so brilliant. So those are some really great tips.
You can tell them on Instagram, make a story. I'm at this farmer's market this weekend. It's a way to tell the people that want to, and it's a free platform. It's so great.
Yeah,
Exactly.
using social media is such a great way to gain awareness and also start building more of a community around your product and your brand, and also establish yourself not as just a small business but also a way of life. Because for example, your candles, they are soy candles and they're more friendly.
They don't have those toxins.
They don't have those chemicals. It's much better for you. And so you start building this brand, this community, and a new kind of way of life. And so yeah, on top of that, all of this takes so much work. I mean, going to markets and standing outside for 6 hours and making sure that you're standing the whole time and your legs are hurting, and you know, it's
Designing products.
exactly, it's exhausting.
All those things that
and
go into being an entrepreneur.
totally. So how do you take downtime and relax even to this day?
I really like to go to yoga. That's kind of something I really love doing that I find it's restorative. So it's like it's exercising, but it's also calming at the same time, which is nice. You just got to make the time. Honestly, like you just got to put the boundary up and you just got to say, no, I'm not working over 40 hours. Nope. I'm not staying for a 10-hour shift. There's always, I could do, my to-do list is 20 things long all the time. But you know, at the end of the day, we're making candles and I'm not performing surgery. So I can push it to the next day and, you know, making sure I use my time really wisely here when I am at work, making sure I get rid of distractions. That's the biggest thing is, you know, no more distractions as much as I can. And then always knowing that, you know, there's always tomorrow and making sure as long as I had a really good focused day, I can then do everything else tomorrow and then do the other things the next day. Not, it's very easy to become obsessed with overworking and thinking you're not doing enough. So making sure you take time to step back and be like, okay, evaluate, am I overworking? Where's our business at? How are we? We're doing amazing. We've had our best months ever. I'm burnt out. I need to pull back and like, I'm going to have a 40-hour work week or a 35-hour work week, or I'm going to book time off. And it's hard. It's scary at the beginning because you always are we're always so scared that, well, you know, we're not doing enough. We have to be so productive all the time. And that's no way to live. And yeah, you kind of realize what's the meaning of life. It's not, it's to do purpose and to create something amazing. It's to learn what more about yourself. It's great if you can love your job and create something too, but it shouldn't be everything. Remember we talked about balance? Balance is everything. Like you definitely got to work, you got to push it, but you can't overdo it. And then you might have periods where you overdo it and then you got to be like, hey, reevaluate. I'm not happy. Like I need a little bit of time off. So yeah, it's just really setting that boundary with yourself and with your team and making sure that the time that you've dedicated to work is effective so that you can feel good when you don't have to work. And I love hanging out with my little dog. I love going on walks with her. And yeah, I love puzzling, honestly. I like going out to restaurants, just honestly, everyday normal stuff. And it's important to take that time.
I absolutely
Totally.
love that because, as you said, it's so difficult to do our best work and be at our best when we're burnt out or we're tired or, you know, all we want to do is lay down and take a nap, but we keep pushing. And I think that what I've learned through all these podcast interviews that we've done is downtime is really a core element of being productive. And if you want to be productive and you want to be successful, you have to make sure that you put that boundary and you actually do downtime and you go to a restaurant and you go do yoga or you go for a walk and you're not, you know, on a work call at the same time. You're actually just in the moment and enjoying this time you've set aside.
And I think what's also important is oftentimes when we take ourselves away from our work, we start to feel kind of like guilty about it. And so let's say you're at yoga class and you feel bad that you're not at work right now. I think it's important saying, hey, I'm at yoga right now and I'm not at work. And if I'm feeling bad about this, there's just no point because I'm just wasting time and I'm not being productive by actually enjoying my yoga. So when you're taking downtime, enjoy all of it. Don't just sit there and feel bad because then you're not resting. You're just using your brain more and more because you're stressing out. And I think just appreciating those moments where you're having downtime, those moments when you're on a walk outside, those moments when, you know, you're looking up and you see the birds flying around. Maybe it's a bit warmer. I know in Calgary we don't have those birds right now, but when summer comes. But just appreciating it in that moment, like you said.
So what would you say is a piece of advice that you wish you could give to your teenage self?
Oh, this is a really good one. I would say don't be afraid to be you. That would be it. Don't be afraid to, you know, the weird little things or the interests that you have. Like, don't be afraid to let that out or just do it. Yeah, I think sometimes we want to kind of fit in, right? And I think it's important to fit in. We do need companionship. We do need connection. But yeah, don't be afraid to be you because most people are going to like who you are. And especially most people like people who are who they are. And uh, it's nice uniqueness and weird things or differences in people are beautiful. And yeah, it's, I really wish I was able to do that a little bit more, but I'm doing it now, which is good.
That is
Definitely.
beautiful.
I mean, I think that when we're becoming friends with somebody, it's very obvious when you're trying to become more like them so that they like you more. And it's obvious when, you know, you're happy with who you are and you're not trying to change who you are for them so that they like you more. And I think that it's so much easier and so much more fun to become friends with somebody who's not trying to become an exact mirror version of you, because it's like we love having different types of people around us because that's how you build great friendships, by sometimes having little differences and ways to appreciate, oh, you know, I love Mercedes because we have like a similar sense of humor and we're always able to laugh at each other, and you know, we compliment each other, but we're not the exact same person. You need to have differences. And I think that just being authentic to yourself is something that everybody can tell, and it also helps you build so much better relationships.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, but I think as we grow and become more and learn more about ourselves, it's important to, you know, let ourselves be who we are and not hold back certain aspects that we think people will judge us for.
Yeah, it's all learning and it takes time, but um, I think the sooner you learn it, the more free you feel and the more happier you'll be.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Do you have a something that you do every day that brings you a little bit of happiness?
That I do every day. Honestly, cuddling in the morning with my little toy golden doodle. She's the cutest little puppy. Or she's not a puppy, she's 4 years old, but she's only 4.5 pounds. And every morning when she sleeps in her bed and she just will be curled up like right here. And she's so lazy. She hates getting out of bed, like hates it, which is so nice. She never wakes us up early. I'm usually waking her up, but I think that moment in the morning when I first wake up and we're just like cuddling, I'm just like, oh, this is like that's presence. It's like I'm not worrying about anything else. And yeah, it's the brightest part of my day.
Oh, I love that. And I definitely think, you know, pets, they definitely add so much into our lives,
Definitely.
and they're scientifically proven to also bring us more happiness. So
Yeah.
I know definitely whenever we pet our dog, it brings us a little bit of
Coco
happiness.
is very
a small
similar.
bit of happiness.
She's a bit on the lazier side as well. Sometimes
Exactly.
you have to like ask her like 5 times, hey, could you move over? I gotta like open this drawer or something. Because we have like a heater on the ground and she'll just sit right next to the heater, especially in the mornings when it's cold outside.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
she's a bit of a sleepier one.
So, do you have anything exciting coming up that you would like to share with us?
With Milk Jar, we I think we're hopefully coming out with car fresheners soon. So in our candle scents, like you know the little dangly car fresheners. So we keep it kind of, I mean, I'm still not keeping it under wraps, but that's our goal. That's where it's not set in stone that it'll happen this year. It might be next year, but we're working on car fresheners in our candle scents like Dandy and Lemonade and Sunnyside. And yeah, just more, I think they would be so cute, those little car fresheners, and another way to scent your space. So that's kind of coming down the pipe. Other than that, just, you know, just taking our time and enjoying the ride. I have no, sometimes people ask, what's your 5-year plan or where are you taking Milk Jar and all that stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. Milk Jar's taking me. So we'll see where Milk Jar takes me and where it wants to go. But yeah, it's really exciting about the car fresheners.
Yes,
The
that would
car
be
freshener sounds
adorable.
amazing.
Exactly. And I also love how you mentioned that you can take candle making
Oh my
classes
God,
with
I know.
Milk
I
Jar.
think that we're gonna try to look into
Yeah,
some,
because
doing
that sounds
something
like a great
that.
little activity for like a little afternoon. That sounds so wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
We have candle classes on our website. You can book in with a friend, a date. They're so funny. You can book private classes as well. They're a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Well,
We'll
that
definitely,
sounds
yeah, we'll definitely be
fantastic.
looking into those. Is there anywhere where our audience can find you if they want to keep up with when your air fresheners are dropping and all the other amazing products you've got?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a newsletter on, you can sign up on our website. So milkjar.ca, it's where you can purchase candles. You can see where our candles are sold in other stores too. You can learn about our custom candles, our workshops, everything Milk Jar on there. We're also located in the Northeast, kind of near Marlborough area. We have a factory, 5,000 square foot bay. We have a little storefront too, and you can see all the production. Anyone's welcome to come by during our store hours. Yeah, and to keep up to date, follow us on Instagram too. Milk Jar Candle Co. is our handle for Instagram.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Well, thank
all
you
of
so
those
much.
will also be linked in the show notes. So if anyone who's listening right now wants to go, it's really easy to find them all there, all the links.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. That was
Yes.
so amazing. We really appreciate you talking to us.
Thank you. It was so lovely to meet you two. You two are excellent interviewers, and yeah, it was just such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Hack Your Happiness, and thank you so much for Holly for joining us today.
We both learned so much. She's so relatable and so inspiring, and her advice is exceptional. Anastasia, what would you say is your biggest takeaway from Holly today?
My biggest takeaway is finding balance, because Holly talked about how balance is so important, and sometimes you have to swing on both sides of the pendulum to find what works best for you. And working and taking breaks at the same time, as well as, doing things for other people, but also doing stuff for yourself. Balance is so important. And in the end, I think having that sweet spot is what really can help you not burn out in the long run, because I know sometimes it's okay to work super, super hard for a week, but if you're doing this for months and years, it can really be hard to continue doing it and lead to burnout. So finding that perfect place is so, so important. And that also means being okay with putting things till tomorrow and just saying, hey, I need a break right now. I'm gonna take 10 or take the rest of the day off.
My biggest takeaway would have to be that it's important to feel your emotions, and it's okay to feel your emotions, because I think so many times as teenagers we have a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, and we have to first of all realize that this is biological. It's completely human and completely normal to feel all of these feelings and emotions, and it's so important to actually be able to move past them, is to feel them. And maybe that means crying, or maybe that means being super excited, or maybe that means being frustrated and talking to someone that you trust about your frustrations, and that that talking about your feelings and feeling your feelings will help us discover the root of our feelings. Because like Holly mentioned in today's interview, your feelings are all responses to something. There's always something that's happened that has triggered this feeling, whether it's a positive feeling or a negative feeling, and it's important that we find the root of that as well.
If you enjoyed this week's episode of Hack Your Happiness, please leave us a 5-star review from wherever you're listening. It really helps us out and we really appreciate it.
Also, be sure to join our happiness family. It's completely free and it really helps us out by following Hack Your Happiness on whichever podcast platform you're listening on now. See you next time!